Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and, with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
You're never alone, especially now, because Solaris and I are here with her show, Neon Twilight. And all of you, I know, most of you have been here before, and I did want to just point out the fact that Solaris is one of the most extraordinary people out there. Her background and her knowledge and her wisdom are absolutely unbelievable. She has 2 shows on Revolution Radio, and she comes here and visits with me it's usually the last Sunday, but we skew it around a lot. But once a month, Solaris and I get to sit and talk, and I can't think of a more warm, spiritual person to share information with than Solaris. She always surprises me. I always learn something. This is one of the shows where I always have pen and paper by me because she'll say something that I either have to look into, check out, or make sure that I absorb it so that I can share it with other people as well. So without further ado, this is her show, actually. It's Neon Twilight, and she is the host. So let me welcome the host to her own show. Welcome, Solaris.
Well, thank you, Barbara, and I guess you're my co-host, so it's kind of our show. It's morphed into our show, and I'm so happy to be here. I look forward to this every month, too, and just you're the same. I mean, your energy is so beautiful and lovely, and it's really a pleasure to brainstorm with you, so thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Oh, well, it's ever since I met you a gazillion years ago, and it was a long, long time ago. How long have you been on the radio now?
Gosh, I don't know, at least 12 years, at least. Seems like long ago, doesn't it?
Well, it seems a lot longer, but I've only been on the air with Nightlight for 15 years. But
wow.
I think I met you. Yeah. But I think I met you before I was on Walks with Thunder program. I was one of his co-hosts. And I think I ran into you at the very beginning, I'm pretty sure.
It's totally possible.
Where along the way we met, I don't know, but I have always thought it would be so cool to have you on Nightlight. And then when I went over to Freedom Slips and you were at Freedom Slips, we started talking more, but we had always traded back and forth. So as far as being on each other's show, and when your one radio station went down and then you moved over to have both your shows on Freedom Slips, I put the offer out there, and if ever you decide to bring one of them or both over, that's great. But what's so special about you is that we really seem to share kind of the same kind of people we bring onto the show. So it's even better when we can share people that we have interviewed. But I am so excited to finally get back to it. It's almost like when the year started in, everything sort of got, I don't know, smushed together. The energy got so crazy. It's taken me, we're into February now, and I'm still trying to catch up. I don't know about you, but it's. I had such a wonderful flow getting into probably, September, October, November. There was it just everything seemed to click, and then after the New Year, it was like, holy cow, everything seems so strange, and I think it's the energy that's going on in the universe, and certainly on the planet. There's a lot of, this is a time when there's a lot of stress going on all different levels and all different places. So it just has taken me longer to get my footing than ever before, and maybe because I'm getting old, I don't know, but I don't think that's it. But,
no, I think it's the atmosphere. Yeah. It's the same thing here. Although when I thought about the new year, I thought, well, everything's going full speed ahead now in a different formula. But it seemed like everything was just weird. The weather patterns have been very, very strange. That has been noticed. And especially with the frozen pipes, I had all kinds of issues with the super cold temperatures, and then we just had a ton of snow again. I know it's winter, but still, it seems like it's sporadic and very strange, almost weaponized. So we have that going on. And, it just seemed like things weren't working properly. Little things were going on, just strange, just a little strange, almost like a little inertia.
Well, I'm in Tennessee, and we don't usually get, snow and all of that sort of stuff. I had a frozen pipe, too. It flooded my kitchen and my garage, and it was like, what the hey, It was my fault. I didn't unscrew the hose, and I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I mean, the frozen pipe was my fault. Well, and the weather. But, it really set me back for sure.
Yeah.
But I had looked forward to our topic tonight so much that it ticked me off that we sort of had to shovel it around and move it around, but we're here. And, well, sometimes our topics are unusual, and this is a good one because
I think so.
I'm noticing there are a lot more books on past lives. There are TV serials on past lives, on going into past lives and losing people and trying to find them and stuff like that. And for some reason, have you noticed there's a resurgence in the interest of past lives in all phases of life these days?
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, definitely. Whether they're seeking some aspect of them from a lost, long-forgotten timeline or something. Yeah, that's going on, no doubt. And that correlates to time travel, too, once again. So you're still looking at the formula of being multidimensional but kind of living simultaneously in between the realms. And I'm wondering how much of that is an access to another lifetime from a previous lifetime versus the future.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know I have met in my life one or two people that I just know I have known in a past life. I can't really, figure out what it is, but there is something there that is so strong that it's, usually if a friendship doesn't work or something like that, you can kind of drift away, but there are some people that just don't drift, and then you have to sit and say, okay, there's a past life connection here of some sort. What issue are we working out that I can focus on so that I can not bring it to the next life with me? And,
right.
so it's sort of like, so many people joke about them, and yet the element of having lived probably millions of past lives over time, what's the point to it?
Right. Well, acquiring data.
Yeah.
It's a great library.
Yeah, probably, partially. But when you think of the fact that it's millions of years, and okay, you've got a got a spirit in you that is traveling through time, that is learning from every single one of these past lives. And and so there's a point to them in that each past life gives you the opportunity to work on new and different concepts that will enrich you as you move forward in time, theoretically. What happens, I wonder, though, with the those that are not of a spiritual ilk this lifetime? And I guess I'm focused kind of on criminals. If we are all learning something, is a criminal really learning something from a past life?
Yeah, that's sketchy. I don't think so. Honestly, I find that if people are that saturated in evil and what I call entity control, I don't think there's any future for them in any formula. I find that they tend to go extinct or into some kind of a phantom realm. It just seems to me like there's nothing there. There's no light. There's no consciousness. There's no connection to what I call source. So, without being too harsh in judgment, it's just an observation. But to me, I don't think there is a future, and that's why it's important for people to get on the right track. And also, what is the attraction to being violent, or what is the attraction to being a criminal? You have to ask yourself, what is it, and what is it that's so exciting? I guess a lot of people get pulled into those dark waters, and I never understood that. But there's a lot of it now here on the timeline. It's horrible.
Well, I know. I'm watching. I watch the news, and I see. Excuse me. I see the violence. And, especially in this country with riots and the grab and slam and grab or whatever it is. I mean, I don't understand what would, obviously, I believe all spirits were created at the same time and sent on a journey. So if that's the case, then why would one be so dedicated to not be loving and kind and giving and sharing? And you see it all the time. And yet in poorer communities, you see people being gracious and sharing and helping each other out. So, so just because people don't have a lot doesn't mean that they're going to become violent. So,
right.
What is it in a person that makes them want to cheat and to rob and to, in many cases, take someone's life? But what's the purpose? That doesn't make sense to me, and yet they're here. So that they are physically here on this planet says to me there's got to be a purpose.
Well, yeah, I find it's all a byproduct of social conditioning. I think it's an environmental condition that these people, once again, input-output in the computer of the brain. That's how they've been programmed. And without a stabilization with what I call cosmic source or higher self or spirit or soul, then they're just kind of vacant. They're vacant bodies. So that's right there primed for takeover. That's what I'm seeing. And at what point do they get redemption? I don't think they do get redemption unless they really seek it and expel whatever's going on in them. So, and I'm not even talking religious. I'm just saying doing the spiritual work, or doing something that's going to help deprogram them from what's going on. Because I understand when you have to fight for something. Like in revolutionary times, or you have to stand up at some point. You have to stand up, but there's something else happening here where it's not about that. It's not even about freedom. It's just about doing it because they want to, because there's no repercussions and apparently there's no connection to creation, so they feel like there's not going to be any punishment, so to speak.
Well, that's a really good point. If you don't have a belief system that talks of moving on or moving forward or going home or any of that, then there's no reason to not be vicious and mean and do ugly things.
Right.
Right. But
there's no accountability.
But in a lot of cases, I'm seeing that a lot of the violence, especially that I've been seeing on the news, is young kids who, they've gone to places where there's no, they get arrested, but they walk out and they don't have to, it's nothing. There's no consequence.
Right.
And I think that isn't it part of our responsibility as a society to create the consequence of the action?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but it's become more political now to a point where the criminals seem to get away with anything, and the people that are innocent are the ones that are getting, sent up the river or down the river. Yeah. Yeah,
I had recently. We've been with the HOA. We had an issue with one of the people here, and every time we legally took action, this other person was directed to do something or whatever, but they didn't, and there was no consequence. And it got to the point where I complained to my son. I said, I have finally gotten to the point where, at least with some of these civil things, the law is protecting the criminal and not the person who's trying to be honest. And he laughed and he said, "No, there are consequences." And I said, we've spent 3 years and I haven't seen any here. So, but
wow,
it's sort of like, I look at humanity as a whole, and I know that we are a race that is very diversified, but we have the same components. Theoretically, there's a spirit in everyone. Theoretically, there's a sense of good and love and peace and all of that. There's that in everybody. How do we find it in those people that don't seem to want to look? I mean, how do we convince them to look for it? Right. Yeah, it's hard to say. Well, and when you look at past lives, I could probably say I've had a past life as a teacher or as a spiritual person or as an artist of some sort in past lives, because those are talents that I have touched into this lifetime. And, I've not had the curiosity to go and look back at past lives, to tell you the truth. No, right. But if people want to get a look at where their children have come from, that's very easy, because in the first 3 to 4 years of life, children bring with them the interests and the talents and the gifts that they had in the last lifetime. And if you recognize those and support them, they can be avenues that the child can use for strength and all sorts of stuff. And, I was really lucky with my mother, because she was very into my being creative. And I think the thing that illustrates this the most is when I was really, really young, she could occupy me for hours. Those paper doilies they put bakery goods on? She used to get tons of those and sit me down with my watercolors, and I would paint the doilies. And in a way, it would occupy me for hours. And later on in life, of course, I did mandalas. I know. That's funny. I mean, it took me a while to really make that connection, but I mean, I can remember sitting there for hours and hours, and you just peeled them because there were so many, so there was no running out of them. And my mother used to just tape them up on the windows so that we had snowflakes all over the place. It was kind of fun and very cheap.
That's great.
And I taught my cats and dogs. They would all go to school, and eventually I became a teacher. And then when somebody died, I had a funeral service, and I got ordained as a minister. So, I mean, but those were things that I brought with me into this life, so that they were things that I have flowed easily in and towards, and I've been very fortunate to be able to sort of use them as a jumping board. And the only thing that I haven't done that I know at some point in time, I played the piano. And I have always wanted to play the piano, and I had lessons for maybe 6 months once, and that was it. But even to this day, I can find myself, playing a keyboard on a tabletop where there's no keys, and that may be something I take into the next life. I don't know. Do you have anything like that you can relate to?
I think it's music. I think music, playing. I was naturally attuned to music as a child, in the illusion of child, I should say. But I always could play instruments by ear. So I had a good ear for music. Played the flute. But I was able to play keyboards too, or piano, and pick up on instruments fairly easily. And of course, I think the biggest gift was just seeing between the realms. I mean, being hypersensitive to energy and seeing what was going on. That was very, very prominent. Also, just being able to see people in other timelines. I think we might have had that conversation before, but I can remember being very young and always doing readings for people. They always want me to read for them, and I was young. I mean, asking my advice about stuff, or then I'd see somebody in another timeline, and I'd see them in a whole different outfit, like from another time period, and I'd say something to them, and I'd say, yeah, I have a resonance with that. And I don't know if I'm just saying the suggestion, but it was interesting for me to see how people would shapeshift, or I would see them just for a brief moment in another outfit, like something from another realm. So, I think that's part of it. I think that the work that I'm doing, writing, I'd always been very good at reading early as a little girl. So I would have to say, things like that. So those are my skill set. Well, part of it anyway. So then I got in more to the martial arts and that sort of thing when I got older. But I think we embrace all of those. I think all those components are part of us as we exist simultaneously. Some are past lifetime, but some, in my opinion, I think are future lifetime, and almost like training for where we're heading, off planet, where we're heading as we integrate into a whole different realm. So that's just my perception.
That could be. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I think that if people sit down and take a look at themselves and, what do they do that what's their happy place? Where do they go in their happy place? Whether it's cooking or drawing or reading or whatever. And, everybody's got them. And it's a matter of, sitting back and figuring out just what things that give you pleasure that you do that don't bring money, but give you pleasure. And I think that I think the only time I went for a past life regression was a hypnotist once, and the only thing that I got out of the whole thing, and it may be, some people could be hypnotized and some people can't be, and I'm not sure which I am. I think I'm a can't, but I have had a recurring vision of being in a Viennese ballroom, dancing a Viennese waltz, swirling around. I can smell the candles. I can feel the material against my skin. I can feel the swoop of the music, and then it's gone. But down to the fact that the dress was blue and there was lace on it, and the whole thing, and I had sapphires and diamonds on. I mean, the whole thing. I see the whole thing in the blink of an eye, and can't figure that out.
Did you ever pursue that? Like, how you remote view. I wonder if it's worth the look insofar as just dialing in and seeing what that is about and where it leads.
That might be something really that in my spare time.
Yeah, I mean, you would be under hypnosis. It's just a matter of just being, just lucid in the experience of information.
I mean, I think I know my partner, but I can't place them in my life yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if, as soon as I make that connection, if the whole thing just completes itself and goes away. It feels like it's more a reminder of something than anything else.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like a joyful moment too.
Oh yeah.
Did you feel that? Yeah, it seems like it.
I'd kill for the jewelry. I mean.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Bling bling, baby. It's funny too, and it seems like in a lot of lifetimes, if you really go into that realm, it's either trauma that people remember, the trauma, or it's something very, very blissful. It's one or the other usually.
Yeah,
joyful moments.
This was a blissful one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's
it's sort of like, again, a piece of a past life. And have you ever done anything that you weren't taught that you knew how to do without being taught? And because that brings forward another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, reading for sure, because they never really showed me, but I was able to just pick up books, and adult books, not children's books, and just read. Drawing was another one that I was really good at, although I don't think I'm much of an artist, but I was able to adapt. And I think for the most part, I have a gnosis I've always had, where I'm able to decode information, especially when it comes to physics type stuff, science, advanced sciences, which I've never really studied formally, not the way people study. But I'm able to decode everything really well, like I've been teaching my entire life, that kind of thing. So I think that's part of it. I think there's some things there that linger, whether they're from wherever they come from. There's definitely a database of information.
Well, you've had a past life at Scarab Ray.
Where?
Scarab Ray. Scotland? Ireland, in there
Scotland.
someplace?
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
And you were one of the wise people that came to teach the people spirituality.
Well, that makes sense. Is that what you're getting?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, now, my ancestors on my mother's side are from Scotland, so that's very interesting.
I kept hearing Scarab Ray.
Wow. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
That's fascinating.
It's a Neolithic settlement on an Orkney island. And it goes way back. Okay, it was founded in 3180 BC it was founded about 5,204 years ago. Okay?
Wow.
And Scarab Ray is where the wisest of the villagers were sent to be taught by a trinity of wise people for a period of time. And I know one was a tall white, one was a very small person, and I forget what the third was. And they would come and teach for a period of time, and then they would leave, and then they finally didn't come anymore. But they were the wisdom healers that taught the people the healing and what they needed. Yes, Scarab Ray. Skarabrae.
Well, thank you, Mark Eddy, by the way. Yeah, that's so cool. I resonate with that. I've never heard of that. Yeah, he did. He texted it.
There's a book about it.
Oh, wow. How wonderful. Well, I'll definitely have to read into it. But that makes a lot of sense.
I kept hearing Scarab Ray.
Wow. I'll definitely look into that. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, no problem.
Cool.
Yeah,
it
was not my... You were
that
one of the tall
I've
white
never
ones.
heard of it, too.
Oh, God.
What's that?
It's an amazing... It's a magical place. The stonework is still there. It was uncovered in, I don't know, a number of years ago, and when they excavated it, they found that they even had toilets in it. It's in a really primitive place. 1850, a storm hit Scotland, and the storm stripped the earth from this knoll, and there was a whole little city there, kind of town, city, whatever. And it's really amazing. It's magical, and the teaching that went on there was amazing, because it was teaching that was done intuitively. It wasn't done, it was very primitive, obviously, 5,000 years ago. So it was intuitively shared with and taught to the people from the towns and villages that came to learn, and then they were sent back, and the wise people disappeared, and then they would come back again. I don't know how often, but on a pretty regular basis, and people were sent from all over to be taught there, and then take the teaching back to their villages.
Wow, that's fascinating. Very interesting. It's funny, I've never heard of that. Have you interviewed anybody about that? Anybody who's written a book on it, or no? You have?
Yeah, there's a book. There's a book on it. Partially. Mark, do you know?
Yeah, he does. He's texting. Here he is on Skype. Well, he says the Orkney Islands structures were earlier than Stonehenge. Wow. Thank you, Mark. That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, let me see. Scarab Ray. Yeah, no, you were one of those teachers, for sure. You were there. Scarab Ray.
He said Laird Scranton wrote on it.
Yes, he did. That name does.
Very good. Thank you,
resonate
Mark.
there.
He's quite the scholar, Mark, too.
Well, he's really good at remembering stuff. I lose stuff pretty easily. He can usually pull me back onto track.
He's a good cosmic librarian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, he's really sharp on that stuff. Yeah. Every now and then I will say to him, "Is there a reason I'm not going to call this author or not?" And he'll tell me what the reason is.
Oh, how funny.
No, he's amazing. He's got an amazing mind. And he does.
Go ahead. No, he just sent me a text because I want my pay quadrupled for doing the show prep.
Oh, sure. No problem. Just get a hold of the treasurer and tell her I told her it was okay.
Because the author is usually dead. He's on a roll. He's funny.
No, that's true. That's true.
I
find books that oh my God, I find so many books that I think would be wonderful, and only to find out that the author is dead. And
wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, go ahead. Are you there?
I think I may do a whole series of shows on the author's dead, but I read the book anyhow, and talk about some of these books because their titles are so fabulous.
And you can also almost kind of channel it. You can almost interview those authors in the different realm and see how it comes in, see what they would say. I think that would be kind of fascinating.
It would be.
Something to think about.
It would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm scheduled through July, but I might do that because there are some books that I just really dearly want to read, but the author's not around anymore, so it's kind of like, I don't want to pontificate on their work, but maybe I do. Maybe I want to put my 2 cents worth in.
Yeah, I would kind of look at that. Actually, I think that's something about it that seems, because they're in another state of being, in my opinion, so maybe you'll kind of just dial in and see what happens.
Oh, yeah, and
like
the one author that now I don't know, I haven't looked at any of the books that he's written, but I've studied him as an artist, is Nicholas Roerich. And he died in I think 47. But he traveled in the Himalayas and Tibet on donkey. And he and his wife helped to found the Theosophical Society.
Oh, wow.
And there's a museum in New York City that has a lot of his work hanging in it. And I did go there once. I got yelled at a lot because I had read so much about him and so much about his traveling in the Himalayas, and he was definitely into the Buddhism or the Bon, and he was a very spiritual person, and his paintings are all in tempera, which are watercolor. And
nice.
And he had canvases, I guess, rolled up that the donkeys carried, and he would stop in places and paint. And for anybody that wants to see magnificent, beautiful, beautiful stuff, his paintings are just absolutely gorgeous. And Elizabeth Clare Prophet used his paintings in some of her books to illustrate what she was writing about. And in his journeys, this is for sure, this is for true, this is not Barbara making this up. In his travels, he went to because I did read a whole book on his whole life and stuff too. He went to one of the Tibetan monasteries that are way up in the tops of the mountains there, and they had a kind of a guest book, and one of the visitors to that particular temple was Jesus.
Wow.
And they brought it out and showed it to him. So yeah, I mean the strength and the beauty of his work is just absolutely unbelievable. If anybody wants to, R-O-R Rick, I-C-K, I-C-H, I think, Nicholas Roerich, yeah. Roerich is R-O-E-R-I-C-H, Nicholas Roerich. And it's the paintings just absolutely, they capture you, and you can feel the magic, and you can feel the mysticism there. And of course, he and his wife helping to found the Philosophical Society too. He was partially responsible for the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill, and he was partially responsible for, during wartime, especially during wartime, they had markings on the roofs of hospitals so that the planes, and the agreement that the planes would not bomb them.
Oh, really?
Unbelievable, mystical man. I sent you a link to some of his paintings.
Yeah, thank you. I love pastels, and watercolors I really like.
But don't know how we got to this topic, but
well, we always do this.
Lives.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll wander around a while. yeah, and another case of here's a very talented man who came into life. His father wanted him to be a lawyer or a physician, and he ended up designing the costumes for one of the ballets, or I think he designed sets. He was just an amazing man. Strange looking, I might add. He was Russian, I believe, but he embraced the Tibetan dress and everything, and his wife the same. And so anyhow, they're in their museum. Anybody in New York who wants to go check it out, go, because it's not a museum that is well trafficked, so that you really have a chance to really be able to sit with these paintings and just look at them. And of course, I got yelled at because I had to touch them. And
I'm like that too. Don't they have?
I had to touch.
Don't they have them roped off, Barbara?
Not enough.
Really roped off? Okay. I did that once with some kind of an Aztec thing. It was a long, long time ago. But it felt the energy, the vibration when I touched it. It was amazing. I had to touch it. Couldn't help it.
There is a monastery in New York City, right on the edge of the city, and they have a lot of old stuff there. But they had a tapestry of a unicorn. And this was another case of got yelled at and kicked out. Had to touch it. Had to touch it. I mean, they were very nice about asking me to leave, but they did ask me to leave.
Why? Just because you touched it?
Yeah, it was a huge tapestry, and the unicorn was not the kind of unicorn that I think about. I think of a great white stallion with a horn on its head, and at the time that this tapestry was created, which was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there a unicorn with a goat head actually with a horn. So it was definitely not the pretty unicorn that I would think of. But yeah,
right,
originally the unicorn was not the kind of animal that we think about, with like a Pegasus or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Unicorns, I think they're described actually in the Bible, and they're a pretty ugly animal.
Is that right? Huh.
Yeah.
I always think of them as the pretty ones too.
Yeah. Does the Bible describe unicorn? Because I think, no, it doesn't give us a concrete description. They're just mentioned in a general sense.
Right. Well, I like the way they look now. But yeah, I love unicorns. Yeah. They're beautiful.
Well, yeah, if you're talking about it, it doesn't. Oh, it says here, the King James Version of the Bible uses the term unicorn in several passages. All of these references seem to refer to a well-known wild animal, probably of the ox species. Like I said, they weren't originally pretty, so it's kind of like, okay, it's logical they missed the ark, but but it would, but I think that's one of the things about when you're near something that has an energy. There are lots of paintings and reliquary, old stuff that is just old stuff. But some of this stuff, some of the paintings, some of the symbols and things like that, some of the objects, you just feel the need to reach out and touch them, and that's how I felt with his paintings, for sure. he wrote a lot too. He wrote a lot of spiritual stuff, and they have a lot of their writings that are there for sale at the museum. But it's a
nice.
beautiful museum, and it's in a brownstone, and it's very unobtrusive, and it's right by, as I recall, it's kind of right by one of the rivers that surrounds New York, and it was hard to find, but when we found it, it was just, you walk in and you feel the age, and you feel the spiritual stuff that's there, and it's very quiet, and you just know there's something very special here. You go into the Metropolitan Museum, and it's different. And while they've got stuff that I would love to touch, they have it all behind glass. There's no way you can get close enough to it to really suck it in. But this was a special place that I would go back to, and I am a New Yorker at heart. I didn't grow up in the city, but I was born in New York and very close to the city most of the time I lived there, and I wouldn't voluntarily go there now because it's so different, but I would definitely, there are some things that I would like to touch. If you could think of anything in history, object-wise, that you could touch and not get in trouble for, discovered or not, but what would it be?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm really big on moon rocks and stuff like that, so it has to be something like that, a moon rock. But I think what's that?
I mean, a moon rock would kind of be easy, though. I mean, make it hard.
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't know, to be honest with you. There's so many things out there. What would you pick?
Well, I'd like to touch the Sphere of Destiny.
Oh, that's cool. But they never found that, right?
Yeah, well, they think they have. Well, I know there's a fake and there's a real one, so I don't know which is, but yeah, I think they did find that. I'd also like to touch the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
I mean, I'd like to, but more than the Ark, I would like to touch the breastplate that the priest had to wear, because it had those 12 gems in it. And I wouldn't mind rubbing my fingers across those 12 gems, because they must speak volumes as far as energetics and stuff like that. Let's see, what else would I love to touch? I'd like to. It's funny. I wouldn't mind touching the Hope Diamond. I don't want to wear it, but I'd like to touch it. It. There are, of course, everything is, the Hope Diamond probably is not within the realm of possibilities, nor the others, but the Sphere of Destiny I would really like to touch.
That sounds interesting. Yeah.
Because I know that the nail that they say was on the true cross, you don't know if Helena really found it or not. So you don't know. I would love to touch.
Now that would be interesting, just to get the vibe off of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
there are things out there. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, for some reason there's something about the energy in something that if you can touch it, you get a charge of some sort from it. Yeah,
it communicates. Yeah, it's almost like an interface. Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. That's why I'm like that too. I can draw the energy in, but it is nice to handle it, see what it's about. Isn't there a curse on the Hope Diamond though? So.
Oh yeah, Anybody who wears it dies, or their life falls apart.
So you wouldn't wear it?
Yeah, no. No. I just. Well, there's a DeLong ruby too that's in the Museum of Natural History, along with along with the something of India, sapphire of India. I mean, that were robbed a number of years ago, and they did finally they got it back, and it was a very distant member of the family that donated it. I called the Museum of Natural History once, and I gave them my name, and I said, "You have a family gem there, and I want it back because you let it get robbed." And they checked me out. And they said, "You really are a DeLong." I said, "I really am a DeLong," and they talked to me quite a bit about it, but they wouldn't let me have it back. It's a huge star ruby, the size of a golf ball.
Wow.
But something like that is too big to wear, so you might as well give it to a museum. But
does
there's
it really want to be in the museum? That's the energetic. Is it? I don't know if these people. I know it's nice to put things on display for others. I'm kind of wondering if that's where they belong or not. Is there a restless spirit that says no, don't put them in the museum? Who knows?
Well, a lot of the King Tut stuff too. I would love to touch the airplane that was definitely in the tomb. I'm into touching. I want to touch it to feel the energy. For one, to know if it's real, and for another, to see what's there. What's its story?
Right. Yep. It's an artifact.
Because, and the cool thing is that every you can do psychometry with it. And if not too many people have actually handled it, then you would really get something. Graham Phillips has a book that he wrote about the it's an onyx little bowl that they think that Mary had fragrance in it that she used that she rubbed on Jesus before they closed the tomb up, and he said he has literally found an alabaster cup that he says is from that particular time frame. I'd like to touch that. I'm into touching. I'm into pulling energy from. I'm into finding out what the story is. That's why I love antique jewelry, because you always get such a cool feeling from it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And books. Sometimes you can find some really good old books.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
It's they keep the things that really do have. I mean, I understand why. I mean, look at Plymouth Rock is almost gone because people have chipped so much off of it. I've got it. People want souvenirs and stuff, but a lot of the giant skulls and the crystal skulls. I would love to touch a crystal skull.
Well, one of their crystal skulls, you can get a crystal skull, but not the ones they have. Yeah, I'm not sure those are really the ones, though. I'm not sure what the story is insofar as are they credible or not? Are these crystal skulls really what they say they are, or just kind of a conversation piece?
A lot of them turned up in museums about the same time frame.
Interesting.
And they were kind of almost like left on the doorstep, like an orphan. So there's a story about the 12 crystal skulls, and I'm not sure if it's fiction or if there is a real legend about 12 skulls.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with that at all?
No, I'm really not. I didn't really dial into that. I have heard about it, and there are people that claim that they have these ancient skulls, these crystal skulls, but like I said, I'm not sure if they're actually that old. I'm sure there's some kind of a resonance energetic, but once again, it's like a tulpa, so if you project the energy into it, I'm sure they're going to get some kind of a feedback or some type of a communication, or at least they think they do. So, and especially if people are constantly looking at it, they're imprinting the energy around that skull, and that would also create some kind of an energetic to communicate, if you ask me. So it would be interesting to see what these people have done with these. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, you're right. There's the Hedges one that is quite famous that supposedly was found in South America by this guy's daughter, and then he died, and then I think she no longer has it in her possession. I think she may have passed, and someone else is the custodian of it. But again, it's quartz, and quartz is used in radios and stuff. So it's easy to imprint. It's easy to utilize it as a transmitter or a saver, or I mean, I think that in a lot of the chambers that Patrick and I saw, they were mostly of granite, which had a great deal of quartz in it, which means that it could store something. So it could be a storehouse of some sort, a library of some sort. And I'm not sure that anybody really has looked into that aspect of the chambers that are around the Northeast that we did Secrets of the Stones about. But there are a lot of stories about, a lot of the artifacts that are around, and I would like to really, I want to handle them, I want to touch them, I want to feel what they have to say. Have you done a great deal of psychometry at all?
I haven't done a whole lot of it. Usually I can read pretty well without having to pick up anything or hold it. But I do get vibes off of certain things, energetically speaking, antiques, this, that, and the other. And I have my own collection of crystals that have their own unique frequencies. But that's another thing, like crystal balls, same thing. People have imprinted all that, too, psychically. So there's all kinds of energy and messages people could probably obtain when you're, handling these things. But, yeah, I haven't done that much psychometry. But I have had some interesting vibrations off of jewelry, just antique stuff that I didn't get a good vibe on it, and I probably wouldn't want it in my house, that kind of thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was when I was younger, though. I really haven't been doing a lot of that. I mean, I just kind of am what I am these days. But, yeah, I pick up on everything. I was like a magnet. I pick up on everything.
Well, I sort of do, too. But it's just, I mean, I have a crystal ball, and it came to me strangely. They had a gem and jewelry show at near where I was living, and I can remember going and seeing the crystal ball and picking it up and holding it, and said to the man, asked how much it was, and it was much more than I could buy, and gave it back to him, and I kept going back and holding it, and I kept I did the back and forth, and I finally said to him, I don't have this kind of money on me now. Can you hold it for me? And he said, why don't you just take it and pay me when you can?
Wow,
and
nice.
I looked at him and I said, are you sure? And he said, I think it belongs to you. You'll pay for it. And I did. But it kind of, it came to me that way. And
that's good.
I have found stuff like that does happen to me on a pretty regular basis. There was a moonstone ring in an antique shop. My mother and I used to antique a lot because we just loved antique jewelry and stuff. And there was a local antique shop, and we went into it, and there was this moonstone ring, and I looked at it, and I said, ooh, that's my ring. And we knew the owner of the shop, and she said, she told us how much it was, and I said, well, maybe it's my ring for another lifetime. Certainly not this lifetime. I can't afford that. And we went back into the store maybe three months later, and I looked and I said, oh, you still have my ring? And she said, yep, I'll make you a deal. And she brought it down, but it was I couldn't. No. I said, no, it must be somebody else's because I can't afford that. We went back about 4 months later. I said, I still have my ring. And she said, look, I'll cut the price in half. And I said, I can't afford that. I'm so sorry, and I'm not playing with you. And my mother looked at her and said, she's not playing with you. A year later, we walk in, and she said to me, I know, you're here for your ring. How much can you afford? And I told her, and she sold it to me. And she said, never claim a piece of jewelry here again. She said no one would even look at it.
Oh.
And it's my ring.
Wow, but, that's interesting.
It's so cool. It really is. It's a favorite
Sounds
ring
pretty.
of mine.
You said it's moonstone, right? Moonstone's beautiful. Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really a pretty ring. But, I don't do that often. But I have found that there are times that things come to you when it's your time to have them. Now, I've got the crystal ball. I have to admit, I've never seen anything in it.
Yeah.
But I have, holding it, gotten impressions. So I guess everybody uses their tools in a different way.
Yeah, I think so. And plus, you have the vision already, so it's not like you're really needing that to see anything within it. Actually, if anything, it's just going to amplify your own psyche and your own third eye. What you're able to see through your own psychic vision, if you ask me. But is it quartz?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, quartz is nice. Nowadays, they have just glass. They don't even make really good crystal balls anymore, from what I've seen. It's just, a glass ball. It's not the quartz ball like the old way.
Well, it's hard to find quartz without the inclusions in them.
Yeah.
And this one has no inclusions in it. But still, it's a long time ago. There was a meditation tape that was going around, and of course, I still don't have it. I wish I did. It had beautiful music going with it, but it took you through a quartz crystal and all of the colors and all of the shapes. It was a beautiful meditation. And every now and then I remember it, and I think, geez, it would be fun to have that, to go through that again, because it was such a beautiful journey. It was just enlightening.
Oh, nice. You could probably create that again yourself.
Yeah, it's you get to a point where you can do it, but it's these memories that hit you that are so real that you kind of want to step back. I don't know if it's stepping back in time or if it's remembering something that I forgot or what, but I am finding of late I'm getting a lot of these reminders of stuff. And I'm wondering if it's a thing of the times, if we are all being reminded of antiquity to some degree, and the magic that antiquity has within it that can leave messages for the future. And every time, I mean, this time that we're living through now is leaving imprints of messages for times yet to come.
Sure. Yeah, that's quite an imprint. Let me tell you, it's all spiked. Like Count Dracula. Count Dracula.
No, but it's a time where we have to remember, peace and brotherhood and love and healing and stuff like that. I know there's a lot going on that is not that, but it's a time where theoretically, we should be refocusing on what can we put out there that will help the energy of the times to sort of dissipate some of the anger that's out there now, which would be a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. A lot of people use different, Shungite's a prime example of people who leave it in certain points in certain areas across the United States for stabilization and to deter a lot of things. So I think people could create their own formulas as far as what they want to do and what they want to contribute energetically. Even with crystals, they could do everything, even the group healing, where people want to project energy and utilize it for a higher good or a benefit for the global collective versus just one group.
Well,
we've done that before.
Oh, yeah. There were, a long time ago, there was a peace chamber. Let me see. They were called peace chambers, and they were okay. There are peace chambers still around the world. Yeah, and I was part of this. It's called Water Song Peace Chamber. Peace chambers around the world. They're all around the world, and and they're really cool. They're chambers, and the peace chambers that are already established send crystals for the new chambers, so that all the chambers are linked with crystals. And what I experienced, this may not be the same thing, but on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, people gathered in these chambers to meditate for peace. And basically, what happened was they are around the world, and so that it meant that for 24 straight hours, there was constant meditation ongoing for peace. And it was just such a cool thing. And and they have them in Australia, they have them in Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Denmark, Wales, all over England, Germany, and they're all linked, so that and that might be something that people might want to look for and think about creating a chamber for peace, and then everybody sends crystals for the walls of the chamber, and it's Native American. The one I went to was on a reservation, but it was a peace chamber. It was in Woodstock, Connecticut, and they opened it up, and there was a fire burning, and we sat in there, and they did very gentle drumming, and it was a beautiful experience. And I think we need more of this. I agree with everyone that there's a lot going on and it feels out of control, but sometimes doing the simplest things can create an energetic that can overcome some of the horrible things that are happening. And it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a very few deciding to sit down and meditate for peace and hope for peace. And it's not a matter of making it a big. I think so many people think that they have to go big or go home, and that's not true. There was a study done in Connecticut where there were meditations in a certain place that went on a regular basis once a week. And they found that in the hospital that was right near that particular place where the meditation was, that they had fewer incidents of people passing away. They had people who were coming in and getting better. There was a nursing home where people actually got better that was right close to it, and it was just a matter of people sitting in meditation peacefully, sending out energy. And it's not a one-shot deal. It's not a one and done. It has to be something that's carried on a regular basis. But that's all it takes is, having I don't know, 5 or 10 or 20 people sitting in meditation and trying to and focusing on peace. Doesn't have to be, no lead meditation, no political whatever, just peace, love, harmony. And there you go. And I think so many people have the wrong idea that unless it's a major thing and unless it's a great, huge organization, that it won't count. But that's not true. It's the little things that really do. It's those things that are done, simply by small groups of people that can change the world. But it has to be done on a regular basis. It can't be done just once and then, nothing happens, so we're going to shut up shop and go home.
Yeah. It seems like they were doing that a lot. You're right, whether it was healing rooms or healing chambers. I remember healing teams, too, back in the day. I used to work on those, too. There used to be like 4 of us working on clients at the same time. And it was that same kind of thing where and these were like people who were in like critical situations where they had cancer or terminal illnesses, this, that, and the other. But it is that aspect of just putting the energy there to alchemically change the whole environment or one person. So, yeah, I'm a firm believer in that as well, that does happen. And that's why it's so interesting to see how people can get swept away. And we've talked about it before. I mean, it's easy to get swept away into what's happening here because everybody wants it changed overnight. This is unacceptable. But these are nice ways to kind of reset a little bit energetically and also put something out in the field that's not necessarily static. So I think that's a great suggestion, Barbara, actually. It's a really nice reminder.
Well, when you stop and think about it, I mean, I've read thousands of books, and those books that had to do with spiritual stuff and energetics. One of the major things they all talk about is meditation. And I can't, and when I talk to the authors, they all bring up meditation. That meditation is what got them over the hump. That meditation is what enabled them to go forward. That it was meditation that changed their life. And I think most people don't realize that meditation is very simple and very easy, and you don't have to meditate for 2 or 3 hours a day. I mean, there are people that do that, and God bless, but a good 15-minute meditation can change your life. And so, and it's very easy. I think the easiest one is the empty-headed meditation, where you just sit and you empty your mind. You empty your mind and you pull the energy in and you empty your mind and you let go of your thoughts for 15, 20 minutes. And if you can do that, if you can put that energy in, then you're creating an energetic field around you that is supportive and safe and productive. But but meditation takes all forms too. You don't have to be sitting in a certain position. You don't have to be oming. You don't have to. I mean that is another kind of meditation, and for some people that's absolutely a magnificent form of meditation. I've meditated doing needlepoint that was laborious and repetition. And once my rhythm was gotten, my mind was free to wander, and it did. And it was amazing what you can accomplish when you're not thinking but allowing stuff to come to you.
Exactly. I agree. Well, even running on a treadmill. I mean, little things like that, or running outdoors. It's the same thing.
Absolutely.
You go into the zone, but the zone could be a running meditation. It could be a lot of different things. But yeah, totally.
I think most people don't understand that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I used to garden. That used to be a meditation to me, to be pulling weeds and just it's. I think it's so exciting because when you can take your mind and turn it off and not think, it's amazing what comes into you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, magic happens. It truly does, and you're energized by it. I think that's the other thing that people have to understand, that meditation is really meditating in and of itself is a form of healing, and and when you get yourself synced that way, and another form which is not for you right now, but for most people who are south of the Mason-Dixon line, walking on the earth in your bare feet so that you synchronize your heartbeat with the Earth Mother. I mean, that's another form of getting that, and it's called earthing, actually. They tried to make a science out of it. The reality is, it's if you walk barefoot on not on concrete but on soil, you eventually will synchronize your heartbeat with that of the earth. And if you stop to think about it, the Native Americans didn't have the diseases until, of course, the Europeans came. But they were very healthy, and they didn't have a lot of the problems that are part of society today. So that earthing does help you as well. It keeps you healthier, and it's a matter of getting yourself into a point of flow. You use the right word. It's a flow. It's a zone, and once you're in that zone, magic happens.
Yeah, definitely. Very peaceful stream of consciousness. Yeah.
But are you I'm not seeing around here. I used to see. Of course, maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but I used to see that there were meditation groups where people would get together and meditate, and I'm not seeing that anymore. Are you seeing it at all?
Not really. I think a lot of people are into yoga. They do their own little classes. That is meditation to some degree. But yeah, it's unless they're doing some kind of online. There are a lot of online groups that are doing group meditation. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah, maybe I just haven't been looking in the right places. A lot of it, though, is yoga. And to be honest with you, I can't handle yoga, so I'm
not big on it. But Qigong, Tai Chi, I mean, those are beautiful exercises.
Absolutely.
I love Tai Chi. Yeah, those are real nice, and you can do them solo or in a small group, and very, very powerful and very centering. Yeah.
And it doesn't make you look weird either. I mean, my sister did, is it Qigong? Tai Chi. My sister did Tai Chi for years and years, and she would go down to the beach and do the exercises there. And she always found that to be very, very peaceful and energizing, and there's so many ways that don't cost money that you can become involved with that are such a healthy process for you, and it does clear you, and it enables you to function better as a person in your everyday life.
Yeah. Well-being, period. Yeah.
And I do think that I have to make the difference. Meditation is different from praying, and it's listening, not talking.
Right. Yes.
And it's really funny. I was trying to when I was beginning, and I was trying to get into meditation, I would get into a place where I felt kind of even almost floaty, and then I would hear myself saying, I wonder if this is meditating. And then another voice saying, no, you stupid jerk, now you're not meditating. You know, like, you're not supposed to talk, even to yourself. But it does, you know, you can kind of breathe into it. There's so many different methods out there that you know, I highly recommend it. Lots of times people say they don't have time, but that's not true. You can always make time for meditation. Always, whether it's you know, there's always time. And if you take the time to do the meditation, then a part of you is going into another rhythm that changes your focus on life, and it takes you into new direction, and it alters your thought patterns, and it does in a good way. And it takes you out of being selfish into being selfless. And that doesn't mean that you give everything you own away and walk the streets with a tin cup and a sheet on. But it does change your perspective tremendously. And I say all the time to people that you create your reality by your perspective of it. Meditation helps you to have a more positive view on everything, and it's something that you know, it would be a good idea for people to take a look at, or even for a once a year, finding those meditation chambers and experiencing, you know, sitting in one of those meditations. It's really cool. I mean, I went to an ashram once, and it was amazing. The person who was the leader of it was there at the time, so there were over 1,000 people there. And when the Om went up, it was just amazing. It vibrated you. I was not able to sit the way they were requiring people to sit, so I couldn't really be a part of it. But it's not necessary to have. I mean, that's what they required, and so, you know, that's what was required of you. But going to you know, one of those places where the chanting happens is really the vibration of it. It gives you the shivers. It's so cool. So it depends on what you're looking for, and I think today especially, because things are so strong and crazy, that finding a place where there is a peaceful energy that can kind of swaddle you slightly against all of the craziness that's going on is a good idea.
Oh yeah. I think a lot of people have a lot of stress, a lot of I don't want to say PTSD, but that is going around. So yeah, anything that can kind of just reset and calm and center, I would say is a good idea for sure.
Well, you know, it's a good way if you really want to look into your past lives. It's a good way to open the door.
Yeah, focus on your psychic abilities. Yeah, your multidimensional side. Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like lucid vision, lucid traveling when you're sleeping. You know, but also setting the perimeter before you go to sleep, as far as what you want to accomplish while you're resting and that sort of thing. Same thing, really, when you think about it.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's, you know, there's so much that is open to us that is, it doesn't cost money. It's something, it just takes time and energy and, you know, regularity. And the more you work with it, the more it adds to the vibrance of your life. And even though maybe things are tough, but even if you have this kind of practice going on, it does help to lessen the stress that the times may be inflicting upon you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, the more I think about it, the more I think it would be a good idea for, and I haven't looked, I have to admit, I haven't looked to see if there are any meditation groups online, but lots of people like to do lead meditations, and if that's the case, I'm sure there are tons of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just finding somebody whose voice you can resonate to. I'm more of a quiet meditator myself, but
mm-hmm.
I have found that leading a meditation, quite often people tune into the voice of the person leading, and that makes it easier for them to visualize whatever it is they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crazy times, and times are calling for simple solutions that help to soothe the savage heart, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah.
But to get back to past lives, I think they're actually quite important sometimes, especially if you're on a spiritual journey, to try to take a look at your relationships now. Do you feel that there is a past life connection? And if there is, what is it teaching you? What are you learning? How are you growing from it? And if there's a relationship that is not working, is there a connection that is keeping you there, or is there some reason why you can't let go of it? And if there is, where does that come from? Maybe you can find a solution so you can let go of it and not repeat it again. I think that these are times to start looking at who you're surrounding yourself with, and how do these people connect to you, and is there a strong connection, or is it just a casual connection? And then take a look at where it's going. It's for some reason it feels to me as though these are times to really question everything. What's the purpose? Mm-hmm. What am I gaining? What am I giving? Do I need to resolve something? And
mm-hmm.
and if that, I think it's, I don't know if it has to do with the cycles of the earth, the yugas that we're in. I don't know if it's got anything to do with what, but for me it just feels like this is a time where we all need to kind of not suffer through something, but question and find the answer, and then create the solution.
Mhm. Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I don't believe in suffering. That's not okay.
No. But it's sort of like, especially with relationships, I'm finding people are having difficulty with relationships, and
mm-hmm.
sometimes there is a past life connection, and if there is, then you need to sit down and figure it out, and figure out what kind of karmic debt is here, and can I resolve it? Is there something I can do to make this easier? And not sacrifice yourself or anything like that, but just take a more intellectual look at it rather than feeling sorry for yourself. Take a look at what's going on. How am I being impacted? What do I need to do to change?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people go for therapy, but other times people are truly able to work it out themselves if they take the time.
Mm-hmm. They'll save some money too at the same time, right?
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes. I don't know. I sit and I listen sometimes to, in the grocery store, especially to what, you're standing in line, you can't help but hear what people are saying in line, and it's scary sometimes.
Mm.
but I think well, I think that we're going through some uncomfortable times. I think that given a year's time, things will be better. and it's just a matter of taking our time with what's going on and not participating or overreacting, and seeing where we go.
Mhm.
I know.
Creating your own wave. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, Philip Lindsay has a great book about the yugas and the ages and the what the times hold for the different ages, and it's a great book to read. Does it kind of gives you the understanding that we do go through different ages, different time frames, where society as a whole spends, I don't know, 1,000 years maybe in one time frame period where the energies go one direction and then they move into another level, and we're just going through a tough one, that's all. And hopefully we'll come out of it, but it's well, yeah, we will. I mean, and we'll all come back, and it'll be a whole nother time, and there will be other challenges. I guess every time frame has its own challenges, and we're dealing with the challenges that we have now.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the challenges are linear. That's the thing, everything here is it's just a linear program. If they go beyond that vibration, it's not there. That weirdness, the polarity consciousness, everything that people are kind of polarized with is going to be there, in my opinion. So I think that's what we're looking at is frequency and changing the field, changing the frequency of each being to a point where they're detached from whatever's here. I really find that we will be moving into a whole different field of energy at some point but that has a lot to do with the frequencies. It's what people do, how they walk on this realm, and what they want to do to change their vibration. Meditation is part of that to some degree, but there are other ways to shift gears too. And, and sometimes maybe, anger does move energy, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. It does change the rage that kind of makes things a little bit crazy, but yeah. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to step up into another field of energy versus just wallow and get swept away, Well,
the cool thing is you get swept away, you'll come back again.
Well, I'm not coming back here, but yeah. Not my place. Not my place. I'm a firm. I have it confirmed on so many levels. It's not even funny, but yeah. We'll see. We'll see where it all ends up. Into the big galactic center.
Is there a big galactic center out there? Is there like Star Wars?
Oh, that? Yeah, I don't know if it's a Star Wars version, but there is definitely something beyond this one for sure. I just find that it's time to go home. I just find that all of us are being signaled and summoned to go home. So we'll see where that heads.
And home is different for everybody. That's the thing.
Right. That's true. Yeah, very true. Yeah.
I mean, it's not all the same home. I kind of, one of my favorite shows that I've been watching is Resident Alien.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's kind of cool. It's an alien crashes on the planet. He's come to destroy the planet because humanity isn't worth saving, and he crashes and finds that he has to take human form and blend in because his spaceship is gone, and he takes over a human form, and he does kill the man and take his place, but. And it's how he learns how to deal with humanity, and in the community, small community, obviously, only one young boy can see him in his true form, and at first, scared, and then they become friends, and then they work together to try to send a signal to the aliens. Home planet to not come and destroy humanity, and but it's fascinating how he reacts to being human. and it's quite funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've done 2 seasons. I think the 3rd season is starting shortly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really it does give you, it's another, I've always thought that television and movies, but especially television, has prepared us for what's coming next.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at Star Trek, the things that were so unusual with Star Trek, doors that opened for you and closed, tricorders that you could talk to people with. I mean, all of those things that were far ahead of their time at the time that Star Trek came out are now things that we all, we see and we do and we participate in without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm wondering if maybe some of the, not the movies, because the movies are too scary and they're too sensationalized and they're meant to scare you, but some of the TV shows, this Resident Alien one is there's an alien among us, and I'm wondering, and I believe there are aliens among us, to tell you the truth.
Well,
we are
aliens, however you want to describe it. That's part of my book, Alien Intelligence. but in a sense,
Yeah, but that's true. And so I'm wondering if you look at what are popular shows out there that are, supposedly just fictional fluff, if there isn't more to be said to them or contained within than just pure entertainment, if there isn't a message there that, this is coming, pay attention. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have to deal with it. Mary Joyce had I can't remember exactly where it was, out west someplace, where there was theoretically, according to her article, a place in the mountains where there was almost like a way station for extraterrestrials, and they were basically humanoids, so that they would go into what they loved to do, the women, was to look in the catalogs and then go into, I think it was Nevada, whichever it is, and they would be able to blend in, and it was kind of like an amusement park almost for them. So that I think that probably is true. And she apparently talked to a soldier who was in charge of something with this group of extraterrestrials, and they came and they went. It was like almost like they did time like in a foreign country, but they did time in the mountains, and so I think that is taking place. I don't know if our government knows about it or not, but a part of the government probably does. But I think that we are in some way being made more comfortable with the idea of this happening, so that when we finally realize it is happening, that we're more okay with it than we would be otherwise.
Yeah, once again, I think it's that social engineering. I think a long time ago they used to have a lot of sci-fis that were making the ET out to be bad, and there are the ones that putting fear into the mass collective. War of the Worlds comes to mind, a lot of other things, but it's the same aspect of we've never been given the truth. So once again, the masses don't have the truth. I mean, they can get little Easter eggs of what might be and what's a possibility through media and entertainment and movies, but they don't really know. And those of us who actually do know that our cosmic origins are extraterrestrial. That's all there is to it. And whatever they want to describe themselves as they walk this world, well, that's fine, but it's not who they are. And until they know who they are, they're never going to get anywhere, if you ask me, because they have to understand a bigger scenery, and that comes with a bigger database, a different way of communication, more gifts enhanced. I mean, so many things. So it will be interesting to see how far that goes. What I have noticed is that there is a bottlenecking of information, and obviously, there's censorship that's severe when it comes down to extraterrestrial intelligence and the types of technology I'm familiar with. So we'll see. But I'm not going to hold my breath on any of these departments. I think everybody's on their own journey, and they'll figure it out. They have to figure it out. I don't think there's any more time for them not to.
No, I agree. It's just, but in a way, isn't it kind of very similar to, in an extreme, somebody from I don't know, New York trying to function in Australia.
Mhm.
I mean,
yeah, it's a whole different.
It's a whole different world. I watch a thing on opal hunters, and it's fascinating how their mind and stuff. But do you know, I have trouble understanding what they're saying, and I know they're speaking English.
That's funny. Yeah.
So,
well, it is true. I mean, people are very different, but I'll tell you, the state of consciousness changes as soon as you get into a different realm, and that goes beyond the space-time here. So once again, they're not going to be the same people they were. It's like you die and get reborn, but you're still alive. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how things are here, and there's so many different types of people, beings, whatever we're going to call them, and different cultures, and this, that, and the other. But the bigger scenery is something that they're oblivious to their own futures. They really don't.
Oh, yeah.
I think they should start calibrating for that. I really do. So however they do it, we'll see.
Well, yeah, I mean, you drop somebody down in the middle of the jungle in South America. I mean, there are still tribes there that we haven't discovered. And, their way of life, their value system, everything is so radically different from what you would find in a big city that it's almost like it's another world. And so I think that it's alien to them and it's alien to us. And so if you brought in another planet or people from another planet, you'd have the same thing. I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine being dropped on another planet where the language is so different that I have nothing to relate to it, or the political or the social mores. In this resident alien, he had to learn how to eat with a fork. He had trouble. It would be putting you into a whole. It's like taking you and putting you 300-400 years ago into any culture in Europe. The mores, who you can talk to and who you can't talk to, and I mean, we have different worlds here on this world already. So having somebody from literally a different world is not going to be that big a deal.
Yeah, I think the whole objective too is to get off this planet, though. This illusion of a world is to leave from here. That's not for everybody, though. That's just for those of us, in my opinion, who are the breakaways that I've talked about before. So even if they have an exchange of other beings from other realms, other space-time, the majority, in my opinion, the breakaways are going to move on. They're going to go to another place where they feel comfortable, where they can use their skills and use their abilities and not be inhibited. So, that's just what I'm looking at. I'm seeing a whole different paradigm of information and a bigger future. And the last thing I want to see here is to watch people go back into the dark ages. I mean, that's the last thing I want to see as we leave on into another space-time. I mean, can you imagine going backwards instead of forwards? That just, to me, is repulsive. So I guess that's the biggest thing I look at is how far down the rabbit hole of inversion are they going to go, before it bounces out and changes everything else. So, yeah, but it looks kind of like it's getting pretty inverted to me.
Well, it is. But if someone from another world, do they have the same kind of journey that you do or I do?
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't know what the journey would be. I mean, when you think about the linear part of here, we're not supposed to be on this linear journey, in my opinion. So navigating through the cosmos is a whole different area, a whole different state of being and state of consciousness. So I'd have to say no. They probably don't have the type of weird polarization because they're not in this type of a linear realm. I mean, what's going on here, in my opinion, isn't supposed to be happening. So, we can look at it and say, well, maybe it's from a lifetime or this, that, and the other. I think it's just defective programming that's just input-output as a collective, and it's showing itself, and it's destroying a world. So, that's what I see. I see things are streamlined and very efficient. We're off-planet, and when I talk about off-planet, here they're not. It's chaos in motion. It's trial by fire. And, you can call it whatever you want on a different scale, but I don't think it's functional. I don't think it's workable. I mean, we've got to change it, or it's going to implode on its own.
No, I agree. But I'm talking, okay, so let's say you're going off-world. Say you're on another planet off-world. The spiritual journey continues no matter where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Oh, yeah, I believe that. I don't even know if I want to call it spiritual, but it's more about centeredness and peace, tranquility, a peaceful state of consciousness without having to make the effort of going on a spiritual path. Yeah. So the whole vibration changes, and your body, your soul, spirit, consciousness, however you want to define it, is once again home with source, home with creation. In my opinion, I don't find that this place is part of that. Or whatever has happened here is not. It seems to me like it's been damaged in some way, or there's just something that's not in resonance. The field is not in resonance. So I guess that's what I'm seeing. And I guess that's one of the reasons when I look and I choose to navigate off-world is because the energetics are what I need in my own biosuit, in my own being.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
it's really about going home, and home isn't here. And that's what I mean by you can go home a million lifetimes here. You can live here. You can interact. You can find people you love. You can distract yourself. You can do all kinds of things to make you busy and keep you busy. But in the end, are you really wanting to be here? Saying we don't physically die when we leave, but it's that, that's what I see. It's like, I feel like I'm in a room where I'm just keeping myself busy and preoccupied watching the world go crazy. And instead of being more productive, I could be a lot more productive off planet. No doubt about it.
Well, I've always said that my home was the center star in Orion's belt. That's where I feel like home is for me. And I have said that for years, and don't even know which planet it is, but that's center one. That's home for me. And yet, I feel that the journey the spirit within me is on, even if it were on that planet, it would still be a journey to grow and to evolve and to change.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you put me where I think home actually is, I would still be growing and evolving. So that it's not it's where I feel I originated from, but it's not where I'm going to end up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, it does. Yeah, no, I'm all for infinite consciousness in the sense of just keep evolving and ascending and morphing into whatever we're designed to morph into. And but as long as we're growing and evolving and ascending, I find that the stagnant energies are just no good. And I see that, the pettiness of bickering and, like I said, the anger and the rage and the people that are just losing it, that's just like, I don't know, so it's like kindergarten to me. It's non-relative, and it shouldn't even be going on. And I find that peace and tranquility is also opening more doors to keep us ascending out and learning and growing too, where we can be, at least in our mind, in a centered place of, we're talking about meditation, but take that a whole billion-fold level to where this world is all peaceful. And the frequencies are just so centered that you can't help but keep evolving, that kind of thing, where the fields are clear, the energies, the frequencies are clean.
I wonder sometimes if the Earth is maybe a clearing station. In other words, it's a place where you come to get your head straight, and then you move on and you move forward. That it's not meant to be the end place. It's meant to be a transfer station, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I've heard people call it that before, like a way station or something. Yeah, well, I've heard that. I think it was way station they called it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not permanent, in my opinion, and not our origin for sure. So, and I don't even think we have to be here to work anything out karmically. I really don't. I think that this has been I find that it's been an error. I know it sounds strange, but I feel like this has been a mistake to some degree. That what's happened here in the weaponization and the types of games they've been playing is actually not anything that's been approved by any cosmic design. So it's almost rogue. And that's what's created this insanity in motion. It's not in sync with the cosmos, if you ask me. So, we'll see where this heads. I think that everything's going to get set on a higher frequency, but it's going to take a little bit of pushing when it comes down to those of us who are here kind of forcing that field to go into a higher realm.
Well, I would go along with that. That makes sense to me. I can't believe we're going down a rabbit hole. I would like to think we're going up a rabbit hole and coming out of the darkness. And maybe it's kind of like they say, you have to hit bottom before you can go up. But that doesn't quite make sense to me. I'd rather not hit bottom. I'd rather
it's unnecessary.
It's like
a detour. No, I agree with you. I agree with you, Barbara. It's like a detour. It's like they've set all these different obstacle courses and created detours and distractions and obfuscations on purpose. So this is what I mean by, that's been my observation, And that's why I don't have time for this, the illusion of time. I don't want to waste any more moments with this type of deception. So something has to give. And it's not just about me. I mean, it's the whole collective that's getting deceived. So, and they really are. I mean, as a teacher, they have to have the right data, or at least a doorway where they can learn and walk through it and go to another level. They can't even get that done here. So I'm sure it will happen. I know I sound like a cynic at the end of the show, but that's what I've noticed. That's why there's this, it's not even an urgency for me to live off planet. I'm just looking at things differently through the eyes of the cosmos. And that's just home to me. Is everything out there that's brought here is peace, It really is. I mean, you look at the stars and the sun and the moon and the energies of the cosmos, it's all peaceful. I've never had any bad vibes off of anything connecting from the cosmos. It's always mankind's propaganda that seems to create this weird energetic. So,
Well, I think that I agree with you. But I think that I don't think we've been forgotten. I think that we're being watched for sure. I don't know. Maybe it's that old saying, a watch pot never boils. I feel like we're the watch pot, and that at some point in time there will be a shift, and I don't think it will be total destruction. I think that at some point in time, consciousness, or enough people will have the level of awareness that they drag everyone else with them. But I do feel that we're not going to boil over. I do feel that we are going to find that peace, that sense of brotherhood, for want of a better word. I think it will come. But I don't think we're there yet, but I think it will come. And it's I don't know what it's going to take, but I do feel that it will happen. I don't think that the purpose of the planet and all of the spirits that are on the planet is we're not the garbage heap. We're not Gehenna. So it's a matter of struggling to find the right direction, and enough of us are struggling so that, I think more people today are trying to find that light, trying to find that peacefulness, that trying to find that direction to go so that let's face it, years and years ago we would have been burned at the stake. Now we're not burned at the stake anymore. So I think that it's not a matter of hammering it into people's minds. It is a matter of getting information out there so people can find it, and once they find it, then apply it to their own lives. I think that will happen, and I do believe it. I do believe it is happening in places. It's just not fast enough for me.
Yeah, it's just a lot of interference, but not from us. It's just there's a lot of static here. Let's put it that way on this realm. A lot of static.
Well, maybe the static is put there in order for us to struggle to find a light.
Well, I guess you can come up with all kinds of stories as far as why it's there. I find that it's not supposed to be there. That's my point. And just like, we're not being burned. I guess we'd be grateful we're not being burned as witches or whatever. Well, that shouldn't have gone on either. Once again, they made an error. Social engineering has created this output that's inexcusable on a cosmic scale. So none of that stuff should have gone. And we shouldn't be saying, oh, well, thank goodness it's not like that anymore. Well, it shouldn't have been like that to begin with, is my point. And that's the biggest thing I look at is like, wow, if they think that was okay back then, and even that's just one little thing, but I was just saying this has been generations and generations of weird and a lot of strange witch hunts and volatile polarization that is really not acceptable in any form. So, and it's still going on, but I think you're right, it will neutralize itself. I know we're going to run out of time here in a moment.
We're real close to the end here. So, again, past lives have brought us to an unusual conclusion here. It's your turn next.
Oh, that's right. I'll come up with something.
Okay, and you want to let people know where they can find you.
Oh, of course. Well, where am I? I'm over there on Facebook, but my shows are over there on Revolution Radio. I have Raven Star's Witching Hour Saturday night, 12 midnight Eastern Time, 9 Pacific. And I have Hyperspace Dark Files now, which is over there. It's actually Hyperspace Night Files, I've called it. And that's on 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio A on Revolution Radio on Friday nights. And with you once a month with Neon Twilight. We have our wonderful discussions and going in all different realms. So it's been great.
Well, we will solve the problem. We'll solve all the problems of the world. Just hopeful people will listen to us.
I think we do solve quite a bit, actually. It's been a great show, always, with you, Barbara.
Well, it's a delight, actually, to have you on Nightlight, on Neon Twilight on Nightlight, because it does bring a whole another realm of insight and frequency into what we're putting out there. So it's a very exciting thing for me. And, of course, getting a chance to sit and talk to you for 2 hours is just, it's the coolest thing ever for me.
Well, likewise. I look forward to our monthly gathering.
Yeah, we still, let's see, so for February, the last show is the 24th.
Mm-hmm.
I think, no wait, it's the 25th. I'm looking at calendars. They should standardize them where they put Saturday and Sunday. The 25th is the next show. So I look forward to seeing you then and talking to you then. And thank you so much for doing this with me. It's so much fun.
Oh, likewise. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks for listening, everybody. And thank you, Mark.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mark. Yes. Good night now. And good night, everybody. Thank you for